So here we go. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone, wherever you happen to be in the world today. Welcome one and all to Coffee Talk. It is time once again for Coffee Talk Live, where we will be having some discussion about what is going on in the world today. We'll take a look at some clips from the news and share a little bit of dialogue with those of you who are able to join us for the live portion. And if you are listening anywhere else and you would like to join us for the live portion, you can find us Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on YouTube and on Prepper University and Coffee Talk. Again, that is on YouTube at Coffee Talk Live and at Prepper University. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. And you can find me also now on Rumble, which is Coffee Talk 2, and that's the number 2 on Rumble. Although if you are watching on Rumble, I cannot see your comments. I can only see the comments that are coming in on the YouTube channels. And I will, of course, go ahead and greet some of the people that have chimed in thus far. I see Helter is here. John is here. He says cats and news. Yes, I do have some cats. Actually, Granny Smith is right here on the desk. You want to say hi, Granny? Here's Granny Smith. For those of you who can see, that's Granny Smith. And Monkey is actually climbing the chair behind me, so you can't see him. Bob is here. Donna is here. Reminds us thumbs up, like, and share. Please do. Jimmy is here. Dragon. Tuck, who also reminds us to thumbs up, like, and share. Chris is here. And Country Living. Glad you all could make it as we get ready to jump off here into the realm of the ridiculous. And we will take a look and see what is going on in the world today. And there is Monkey behind me. Hi, Monkey. And we are still going to dive a little bit into, of course, what happened in New Orleans. And by the way, yesterday I got 2 hits from YouTube for talking about that. I got 2 yellow strikes yesterday for discussing it. And of course, they don't tell you what you did wrong. They just say that inappropriate content. And again, I'm sitting here reading the news. If I'm doing something wrong, you need to take everybody down. There's Monkey. For those of you who can see, there's Monkey. Yeah, very much a monkey. Can't hold still for 2 seconds. And 115 has joined us. Glad you could make it today. But here we go, and this is going to be a Fox News article. This is something I alluded to yesterday. And that was the fact that the FBI denied what was going on at first. FBI declines to say whether it will fire or discipline the agent who said the attack was not a terrorist event. Because I think originally they wanted to push it off as being a drunk driving incident or something like that. So the FBI has remained silent on whether it will fire or discipline the agent who initially told the media and the public that the shocking New Year's Day attack in New Orleans was not, quote, not a terrorist event, before the agency quickly backtracked and reported the attack was, in fact, under investigation as a terror incident. And remember, on the back of the flag, on the back of the truck, there was a Talibani flag. There was an ISIS flag, some kind of flag that indicated what it was, but they covered it up. So Fox News Digital reached out to the FBI's press office and press secretary on Thursday and Friday, inquiring whether New Orleans Field Office FBI Assistant Special Agent in Charge Althea Duncan would face termination or disciplinary action over her initial claim the attack was not connected to terrorism, but did not receive replies. Fox Digital also called the FBI press office on Friday morning, but could not leave a message regarding the inquiry as the voicemail box was full. The FBI's voicemail is full. The FBI's voicemail is full. That is a story all by itself. That is a story all by itself. How is that even possible? I mean, I know the data on your cell phone can fill up. You get a couple of hundred voicemails, it'll fill up, and then the box will be full. But when you're talking about an organization that has the data capacity of the FBI, a full voicemail box doesn't make any sense, unless that's just something that they have set up to avoid receiving messages. They have some kind of setting for people who call to get a prompt that says voicemail box full. That's probably more likely. And that's dangerous because there could be important information coming through to them and they won't get it. They won't get that information. And you know, if you call a couple of times and you can't get a voicemail through, you're going to get pissed off and you're not going to bother. Jericho thinks it's thousands of missing children in the voicemail boxes. Who knows? But again, that's a whole different topic of discussion right there. That should be a news story in of itself. How is that even possible for your voicemail to be full? How could you allow that to happen? How could you allow that to happen? If you're supposed to be so critical to the nation's security, if you're so important, how could that happen? Unless it's being done deliberately. And if it is being done deliberately, that needs to be investigated. And D'Lo is here. He says, I'm back. And 115 says the FBI works directly with cell companies such as AT&T and Verizon. So sure, it's full. Yeah, and Joe is here. Says getting a foot of snow in Nebraska, possibly. And Tuck says it's something foot joint employees have done forever, basically taking the phone off the hook so no new orders, or food joint, excuse me, so no new orders come in. Yeah. Goes on to say in the article, after chaos unfolded on Bourbon Street early Wednesday morning as New Year's revelers celebrated the holiday, Duncan spoke during a press conference declaring the attack was not connected to terrorism. Quote, we'll be talking over the investigative lead for this event. This is not a terrorist event, according to Duncan during the press release. And there she is. That is their rep. That is Althea Duncan. Not Althea Tibbs. Who knows who Althea Tibbs is? Let's see who's paying attention today. Not Althea Tibbs. I always disliked her character. She was a busybody. But Althea Duncan. Althea Duncan. And the FBI doesn't want to answer questions. During the same press conference, however, the mayor of New Orleans told the media and public that the city did, in fact, suffer such an attack. They did. So they tried to fix that quick. They tried to fix that quick. And that right there is a picture of the governor, Jeff Landry. That's Jeff Landry, the governor of Louisiana. Because naturally, everybody wants to be talking about that. And Tuck got it. He said, Heat of the Night. That is right. That is the television show Heat of the Night. Althea Tibbs was Detective Tibbs' wife on the show. And she was a busybody and she was nosy. Puck says, distracted by the Speaker of the House vote, 216 to 215 for Weasel Johnson, needs 218. Please. We're pretending to have split decisions again. Is that what's going on? Is that what's going on? And the rest of the article just basically goes on to tell you what happened. You already know. But the FBI initially lied about this. They tried to cover it up. Tried to cover it up, which begs the question, why? Why did they try to cover it up? Why do they try to cover up everything? Oh, and look at this. I had an article set to go. I had an article set to go, and it is unavailable. It says unavailable. They're trying to keep me from reading it. Nature Nerd says, how can they deny it's a terror attack when this has happened in Europe? Yeah, it does happen in Europe. Let me try that again. Let me try that again. This is an article questioning, I'm going to show it to you so you know I'm not making this up, questioning why the FBI withheld information. This is what I get. Nope. No article. Nothing to see here, folks. Look at that. This story is unavailable. Discover related stories below. And if you look below, none of these stories have anything to do with what I was looking at, because I was talking about the attack in New Orleans. The title of this article is Shamsuddin Jabbar, New Orleans attack was terrorism, and why did the FBI lie about it? That is the title. That is the title. And this is what I get. These are not related stories. None of these stories are about New Orleans in this feed. Look at this. I'm 4 deep now. 5 deep now. Oh, there's one. Here's one article which claims, according to the FBI, the attacker acted alone. Sure he did. We talked about that yesterday, that I felt that it was unlikely because the bollards that were removed, he knew where to drive through to get in there. He knew where to drive through to get in there. Someone had to tell him. None of these articles relate to anything like what I was going to pull up. Story is unavailable. Denied. Denied. 115 says they would prefer if government agencies would just say we're not going to tell you or we don't know, instead of muddying the waters with contradictory statements. It's a security nightmare. And that's my point, actually. I agree that basically, because back in the day, they would tell you, well, we don't have all that information now, or we would rather wait until we have some more of the facts, or I'm not authorized to speak about it yet. Something like that. You know, something like that. Not necessarily telling the truth, but at least not directly lying. But now they do. Now they do. Puck says, I heard that Trump's second assassin also visited Fort Bragg several times. I've heard that. I have heard that. Joe says, weird that they're both ex-military. Yeah, both ex-military. Nature Nerd says he was affiliated with ISIS, so he could have been funded by them. Very likely. Again, those organizations will pay you to do stuff like that. They'll pay you, or they'll pay somebody. They will fund, give money to your family, to a loved one, to whoever you say, if you're going to follow through. And that's the one thing that they're honorable about, is they will pay. So no, I don't want to hear it. Plus, that guy was in financial dire straits. He was in real financial trouble. He was in real trouble. Puck says, no FBI-sponsored terrorist acts alone. Come on, man. Oh, you're going to get me another yellow strike there, buddy. Well, let's try this article, since they won't let me open the other one. Apparently, the article is gone. We'll go back to this, and we'll take a look at where he was living. We'll take a look at where he was living, because it was squalor. It was squalor, and apparently he had sheep. Let's see if I can get this open, or if I'm gonna drag here, because Restream is acting funny now, guys. 15 says Fort Bragg connections are very strange. There's other connections as well, including the fact that they both rented a vehicle. They both rented a vehicle through the same app, so on and so forth. You can draw lines, even though they claim that it's unrelated. Spectre is here. Glad you could make it. Joe says Muslims have driven cars into crowds for years. Happens all the time in Germany. Correct. Correct. This is the New York Post, and the New York Post, of course, is the ones who broke the story yesterday because the FBI, was it yesterday? We read the story anyways. The FBI said that they had, in another press conference, which was also another lie, okay, another lie, that they had boots on the ground at Jabbar's house. Oh, we're there. Our people are there. They're combing over the property. They're investigating. And immediately, a New York Post reporter who was at Jabbar's house got on X and said, that's not true. I'm here. Been here for hours. There's no law enforcement out here. Look. And filmed the house, filmed the grounds. It's a trailer, actually. It's not a house. Filmed through the windows. The law enforcement isn't here. So that's twice they lied so far, openly, about what was going on. And then sometime after they filmed, sometime after the reporter was there, law enforcement showed up, cordoned off the area, and broke down his door. Joe says that they heard it described as a tight-knit Muslim community with lots of animals running loose. Yeah, well, there's a mosque within a mile of that trailer park. And Country says, I heard a theory the guy in the Cybertruck in Vegas could have been killed and then placed in the truck. Then they programmed the truck to drive to its location. Maybe, because I believe also, and I have something pulled up on the subject, he apparently expired himself before the truck exploded. But here's the New York Post. Inside the terrorist Shamsuddin Jabbar's squalid home where sheets and goats roam in his yard after his financial ruin. So the terrorist who killed 15 people when he plowed his truck down a crowded Bourbon Street in New Orleans was an American-born military veteran who was living in a rundown trailer park where he kept sheep and goats in the yard. That's also where he keeps his milkshakes, just blocks from the local mosque. Yeah, a mosque within a mile. Authorities say Shamsuddin Jabbar from Houston has had an ISIS flag strapped to the rented Ford F-150 Lightning EV truck that he used to carry out an act of premeditated terror on New Year's Day. That's interesting. Now, I had pointed out they also claimed it was his truck. Obviously, it was rented now. I did not know that it was an electric vehicle. So there's another connection. Both vehicles that were rented were electric, I should say, sorry. And there's Moose Ninja from Kane County, Illinois. I used to live in Kane County. As I catch a couple of more comments up here really quickly and then move back into the article. Puck says, I heard the Airbnb guy was staying at burned down almost at the same time as the attack. Interesting. Jericho says, freaking milkshakes. Oh, you got that one, huh? You caught that one? I know I slip things in there every once in a while to see if anybody's paying attention. Make sure you're not all sleeping on me here. Let me see if I can expand a couple of these photos. Yeah, see, animals including sheep and chickens are in the backyard of Jabbar's home. That's his trailer, I guess. You can see some chickens there. That's a picture of him. It's not a recent picture. Yeah, that's his brother. Oh no, that's him when he was in the army, excuse me. That's the side of the house. That must be, that actually looks like a turkey that's in there. These are shots that were taken by, you can see all of the mildew on the side of the trailer there. It's pretty gross. These are photos that were taken by the reporter who was there when the FBI claimed they were already there, boots on the ground for some time at Jabbar's house. And the reporter was like, "No, I'm right here. Look, You see any police? Nope. And then eventually, and this is the same reporter, here comes the sheriff. I guess they told them to kick it into gear when it came down the line that the FBI had lied about having law enforcement on site. Armored vehicles, that's a shot that I can't show. I'll glaze over it because I get in enough trouble with ScrewTube as it is. So I did not know that this was also an electric vehicle. So that's interesting. Both were electric vehicles that were rented. Said Jabbar served active duty from March 2007 until January 2015 and was a reservist from January 2015 until July of 2020. Left the service at the rank of staff sergeant. Well, was he discharged or did he just quit? I mean, he was only in service for a total of 13 years, so I don't think he could retire. I don't think he could have retired. And that, of course, is film of the house itself. Joe says Ford Lightning all-electric F-150. Yeah, I didn't know it was an electric vehicle. Jericho says the picture of your thumbnail looks like a train wreck. Yeah. As I finish this up, 115 says, why would a trained SF man use crappy low-energy kaboom material in the car equivalent of a tank? None of it adds up. No. Unless he just didn't know what he was doing. If you didn't know what they're doing, unless you didn't know what he was doing. And one more here. Joe says, if you ever watch video of present day Afghanistan, it becomes clear they're unable to integrate into modern society, living in the Stone Age. Yeah, I know. That's the big joke, is that, you know, we could bomb them back to the Stone Age, but would only set them back like 2 weeks. They're living in bedrock. They're living in bedrock, only there's no dinosaurs. No dinosaurs. And ARN says lightning struck Capitol New Year's Eve, Empire State Building New Year's Eve. Did it? Did it? But on to Tesla, on to Las Vegas, and what they've reported about that. And Brian jumped on. Brian, weren't you already here? Brian's calling me out. I thought you were already here, Brian. I must have mistook something. I'll try to get this open. Restream is acting a little wonky today. And this is going to be, who is it? A Time magazine article, so you know you can trust it. That's sarcasm, by the way. Soldier, I can't read that because of how YouTube is. Soldier eliminated himself before the Cybertruck exploded outside of Trump's Las Vegas hotel, according to officials. Let me close that. The highly decorated Army soldier inside a Tesla Cybertruck packed with fireworks that exploded outside Trump International Hotel in Las Vegas erased himself in the head just before detonation, authorities said Thursday. That's where you're getting the conspiracy theories that he was placed in that truck. The explosion caused minor injury to seven people, but virtually no damage to the hotel. Clark County Sheriff Kevin McMahill said Matthew Livelsberger, 37-year-old Green Beret, likely planned a more damaging attack, but the steel-sided vehicle absorbed much of the force from the crudely built explosive. Damage from the blast was mostly limited to the interior of the truck because the explosion vented out and up and didn't hit Trump's hotel doors just a few feet away. Quote, the level of sophistication is not what we would expect from an individual with this type of military experience, according to Kenny Cooper, special agent in charge for the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Firearms. Authorities are still working to determine motive. And that's your quote of the day right there. The level of sophistication is not what we would expect from an individual with this type of military experience. Again, a decorated Green Beret who makes an explosive and does not account for the construction of the vehicle in doing so. That doesn't make much sense. Another quote here. It's not lost on us that this is in front of the Trump building, that it's a Tesla vehicle, but we don't have information at this point that definitively tells us or suggests it was because of this particular ideology, said Spencer Evans, the Las Vegas FBI's special agent in charge. That's a complete word salad. That doesn't make any sense. We don't have information at this point that could definitively tell us or suggest it was because of this particular ideology. What does that mean? Livelsberger, hold on, has recently returned from an overseas assignment in Germany and was on approved leave. A law enforcement official said investigators learned through interviews that he may have gotten into a fight with his wife about relationship issues shortly before he rented the Tesla and bought firearms. The officials spoke on the condition of anonymity because they're not authorized. Among the charred items found inside the truck were a handgun at Livelsberger's feet, another firearm, a number of fireworks, a passport, a military ID, credit cards, an iPhone, smartwatch. Authorities said both weapons were purchased legally. Investigators identified the vehicle's driver, who was burned beyond recognition, as Livelsberger of Colorado Springs on Thursday. Cause of death was self-inflicted, according to Clark County coroner. Well, they got that sorted out quick. Says he was in the Green Berets, highly trained special forces, served in the Army since 2006. Long career of overseas assignments, deployed twice in Afghanistan, Ukraine, Tajikistan, Georgia, and the Congo. 5 Bronze Stars, including one with a Valor device for courage under fire. Doesn't sound to me like like someone who would take that type of action. I didn't see that. Tuck says if the Tesla guy was acting under duress, he may have intentionally botched the IED in hopes the battery wouldn't ignite. Well, if it ignited, it would have just burned. It would have turned into an incendiary device. It wouldn't explode necessarily. Jericho, I didn't see any shots leaving the truck before the explosion. If he had a Desert Eagle, there'd be a giant hole in the roof. Yeah, that's possible. A 50 caliber pistol. And Puck says someone said the SF guy served in Ukraine, whatever that means. I think it was on his social media or something. Yeah, they're claiming that here as well. So I'll just scroll ahead a little bit here. iPod says he was wearing a shirt in the photo released that had to do with Ukraine. And country suggests don't special forces get trained on explosives? You would think so. And Nature Nerd wants to know what's the U.S. doing in the Congo. That's definitely a secret mission. What's he doing in any of those places? What's he doing in any of those places? I mean, I can understand Afghanistan and maybe Tajikistan. But those other ones? So apparently now we're going to imagine that he finished himself off and that he doesn't know how to make an explosive, and that's why it didn't work. So yeah, that is very suspect. All of that is very suspect. And again, they're going to tell you there's no connection, even though both of these guys were in the military, both of these guys were on the same base. Both of these guys rented an electric vehicle with the same app. You can make connections. You can make connections here. They just don't want to. Hell, the FBI told you that nothing happened in New Orleans. Western Journal article, and this alludes to what I was talking about yesterday on the subject. Ex-CIA officer's haunting warning comes into focus after NOLA attacks, 1,000-man mass terror on Homeland. And that is Sean, is that Sean Ryan? No, that's not Sean Ryan, is it? It says, cherish your Second Amendment and arm yourselves, for President Joe Biden's moribund administration has no interest in protecting Americans. In an interview last month on the popular Sean Ryan Show podcast, hosted by former Navy SEAL and CIA contractor Sean Ryan, former CIA officer and counterterrorism analyst Sarah Adams, so that's Sarah Adams there, delivered specific warnings about the threat Islamic terrorism poses to the United States homeland now that Biden and his cronies have left the U.S. southern border wide open. Those warnings sounded early precedent, particularly in light of Wednesday's early morning attack in New Orleans. In a clip of the interview posted Saturday to the social media platform X, Adam told Ryan that at least 1,000 Al-Qaeda trained fighters have found their way onto U.S. soil and stand poised to carry out a coordinated attack inspired by or comparable to what happened in Israel October 7th. The composition of that small terrorist army, however, could deceive Americans into thinking the attack is random. But the argument that I've been making and what I talked about yesterday is that if you're looking for these people, they're already here. They've been pouring over the border for the last 4 years at least. The border encounters have gone up so much. We went from 800 encounters a day to nearly 8,000. And that's just the ones they know about. And that's just the southern border they're talking about, because they're pouring across from Canada as well. They're also coming across the northern border. And we've read the reports on that several times last year. Many of these people that are coming across are what the Border Patrol refers to as special interest aliens. That is, they are known to be criminals or known to be coming from locations that have terrorist ties, and they're still released into the interior. They're still released into the United States, and they don't know where these people are. To the tune of, if I remember correctly, it was something like 72 or 74,000 special interest aliens, and that was as of October last year. They don't know where the hell these people are, or what they're doing, or what their intentions are. No longer are the days of people that they encounter at the border being a bunch of Mexicans looking for work. They're Chinese nationals. They're people from the Middle East. They're people from Africa, people from Haiti. They're coming from everywhere and pouring through because it was allowed, disrupting everything in this country, turning it on its ear. And many of these people very likely could be plants looking to organize something or looking to carry something out, or each one having a separate mission and doesn't know what's going on, but is supposed to watch for a sign. This will happen or that will happen, and then you act so that no one knows who anyone is or where anyone is. It's not that hard. It's not that hard. iPod says, wasn't there a leak and everyone in the military got doxxed? Maybe bad guys went and got him, took him out, put him in the self-driver. It's possible. And Nature Nerd affirms that hundreds of thousands cross from the Canadian border. It's unacceptable. And 115 says a 20-year-old has been caught selling information from Kamala and Trump's phones. Is he Chinese? Oh no. Is he Chinese? I'll put that up from Joe. You can take a look at it. I don't know if I can read all that. I get in a lot of trouble on this on YouTube, so I have to be careful. So this person here, Sarah Adams, who's worked with the CIA, is warning us that these cells are already in the United States, but I think we all knew that. The question is, what's going to be done about it? What's going to be done about it? Nothing has been done about it all this time. Now all of a sudden it's a problem, but it's a problem at the right time because hopefully we've got a president that's going to work on getting everybody the hell out. Get out. You're not supposed to be here. Leave. I'm all for that. I'm sorry. I won't. Actually, I'm not sorry. I won't apologize for it. If people don't like it, that's too bad. There's a right and a wrong way to do everything, and this is the wrong way. This is the wrong way. And we got way too many people freeloading, and we got way too many people that are here to cause harm and to cause damage and to cause disruption, which we saw that video clip yesterday that was taken in New York because there are protests going on in New York in favor of what happened in New Orleans, with people screaming for us. You saw the one woman in particular for white people to go back to Europe. Where the hell did you come from, lady? You're an invader. What are you doing here? And New York Patriot has joined us. Glad you could make it. I'm sorry, those people don't need to be here. You hate it so much, get out. Get the hell out. Don't come here and try to change everything else. You can leave. You can leave anytime. They don't want to leave. They want to come here and change you. They don't want to come here and conform. You come here and you want to integrate. You want to be part of something. You want to be part of something. That's fine. You want to learn the language. You want to work. You want to participate. That's cool. I get it. You want to come here and freeload. You want to come here and bring all your problems and make them our problems. You want to come here and stir up mess and be disruptive and be destructive. Get the hell out of here. We got enough problems. We've got enough problems. And it's not just the United States. It's all over the Western world. It's all over the Western world. You see what it's done to Europe. You want to bring it here? Europe is being crushed under the weight of this. Puck says proponents of this can leave with them. I know. I wish. We need another place like Australia to drop them all off at. Joe says Islam's goal is a worldwide caliphate achieved via forced mass migration and eventually violence. In Afghanistan, 7 years old sold to 55-year-olds. Women have no rights. Majority of immigrants in the past 10 years do not integrate. They fly the flag of their home country. New York Patriot says, hey, everyone. Hate to jump off topic. Just wanted to say that the angry prepper lost his son. Oh, really? Really? Sorry to hear that. I didn't even know he was still on. I thought he got into trouble, didn't he, on YouTube? But yeah, that's unfortunate. Jane says it's getting more crazy. I-85 had a guy in a truck with a bomb today. A guy in Idaho put bomb in train car. I think people are jealous of U.S. freedom. They don't want freedom here. They think they want freedom. They think that they don't know what freedom is. They don't know what it is or what it costs. They want to protest and force someone else to do it, to change. Guardian article. FBI seizes one of the largest stockpiles of homemade explosives in history. I don't know if you saw this. Federal agents in the U.S. found one of the stockpiles of homemade explosives ever seized when they arrested a Virginia man on a firearms charge last month, according to court filings. Investigators seized more than 150 pipe bombs and other homemade devices when they searched the home of Brad Spafford, northwest of Norfolk, in December, prosecutors said in a motion filed on Monday. I heard that those explosives were useless, that they had difficulty even in disposing of them because they weren't functional. The prosecutors wrote that they believed it to be the largest seizure by numbers of finished explosive devices in FBI history. The discovery came as the U.S. is in a period of heightened tension over political violence. Last year's presidential election campaign saw 2 attempts against Donald Trump before he eventually won the race in the White House against Harris. Most of the bombs were found in a detached garage at the home in Isle, along with tools and bomb-making materials, including fuses and pieces of plastic pipe. Prosecutors wrote that several additional apparent pipe bombs were found in a backpack in the home's bedroom, unsecured, and that he has a wife and 2 children living there. Spafford was charged with possession of a firearm in violation of the National Firearms Act. Law enforcement officials allege he owned an unregistered short-barrel rifle and that he faced numerous additional charges. My understanding is that someone ratted him out for possession of that gun. And Puck says freedom costs $1.05. That would be America World Police, correct? Freedom costs $1.05. America, F yeah. So where are we here? Defense attorneys argued in a motion on Tuesday authorities had not produced evidence he was planning any violence. Okay. And noting that he has no criminal record. Further, they questioned whether the explosive devices were usable because, quote, professionally trained explosive technicians had to rig the devices in order to dispose of them. That's what I had heard, that they were pretty much useless. They were pretty much useless. All that work and the damn things are useless. That's a shame. The investigation began in 2023 when an informant told authorities Spafford was stockpiling weapons and ammunition. See, someone ratted on him for that gun, and they spent more than a year even getting around to it. The informant, who was a friend of Spafford, see? Snitches get stitches, told authorities that Spafford had disfigured his hand in 2021 working on homemade explosives. Prosecutors said he only had 2 fingers on his right hand. Really? The informant told authorities Spafford was using pictures of the president and an apparent reference to Biden for target practice, and he believed political assassinations should be brought back. Did they find evidence that he used pictures of Biden for target practice? There's nothing in the article. I'm scanning ahead. There's nothing in the article that says that they found any evidence of that, just that his friend said so. Just that his friend said so. Jane says the guy in the truck in Las Vegas that blew up had a new baby. Did he? I didn't see that in the article. That's unfortunate. There's legitimate question as to whether or not he actually did anything or was just planted in that vehicle. Or if he was just planted in that vehicle, because they claim that he erased himself in the truck and was, as was pointed out earlier by Joe, I believe, right? It was a Desert Eagle 50 caliber. He'd have blown the windows out firing that thing in there. There's no way he did that to himself before blowing up the truck. It just doesn't seem plausible. Something else going on there. Puck says they sure are selective about using the ongoing investigation excuse. Yeah. But I don't know what this guy was trying to do or who he was after or what he thought he was going to accomplish. Especially, you think he would have knocked it off after he lost a couple of fingers, if that's true. I just think it's interesting that his friend ratted him out. Some friend. I wonder how much he was paid to do that. How much, what's it worth to rat out on your friends and neighbors? How much does the brown shirt cost? I know people like that. I know people that would put the shirt on. You know what I'm talking about? You know, you all know that one guy, right? Where you're like, yeah, a meteor strikes the earth and the apocalypse jumps off, and that'll be the first guy to put on an armband. Watch. He'll be the one to tell everybody you've got an extra can of green beans. But back to the subject of immigration. Washington Examiner article coming up here. 1/3 of illegal migrants are no-shows at deportation hearings. No. You're kidding. You mean we pick them up at the border and process them and cut them loose in the United States and they just disappear? I don't understand. It says after hitting a low during the first Trump administration, immigration courts are reporting a big jump in illegal migrants skipping court dates for asylum and deportation hearings. And a new government accountability office report, the rise in no-shows by illegal immigrants has jumped to 34%, up from a low number during President-elect Trump's last term in office. The no-show rate varied widely depending upon the immigration court's rate of grading asylum. For example, the rate of illegal immigrants skipping out was highest in Charlotte, North Carolina at 68%. However, the court in that area also denies asylum at a higher rate than most courts, which is 88% denial. Well, what difference does it make if they deny the asylum and we can't throw them out anyways? In an analysis of the new GAO data, former federal immigration judge Andrew Arthur said it just makes sense that those facing deportation skip court dates so they can stay in the U.S., though illegally. They're all here illegally. Arthur, who is now with the Center for Immigration Studies, said in his analysis, aliens with no hope of staying legally are less likely to show up for court and will opt out instead to skip and remain illegally. Respectfully, that's just common sense. Exactly. I don't know why that has to even be investigated. Naturally, if they're at risk, they're not going to sound. They're not going to show up for court. They're not going to cooperate. I'm just looking at this. I'm looking at this picture, and it's got the two chain link fences with the concertina wire running between it. I can just imagine climbing that one fence and falling in between there, getting tangled up. That would be a nightmare. That would be a nightmare. Nature Nerd suggests that laws against unregistered guns are not constitutional. All laws where firearms are concerned are technically unconstitutional. And Tuck says, I try not to know people like that. Not sure if I do. Probably. Yeah, you know what I mean. They're out there somewhere. There's one. Joe says they were criminals. They were criminals the moment they crossed the border. Yeah, no reason they would follow any other rules or laws. Exactly. The Nature Nerd says, why do you need a court case when it's clear you're illegally crossing the border and breaking the law? It should be clear deporting on site. Well, a lot changed in the last 4 years. Remember, one of the very first executive orders signed by Biden tied the hands of Border Patrol. And that's when we had that massive influx. Started almost immediately. They figured it out. They knew there were apps. They've got apps telling them, hey, border's wide open. Come on. Come on down. You're the next contestant on stay or don't stay. So this comes as no surprise. It's no surprise they're not going to show up for court. It's no surprise that there's a spike in people not showing up for the hearings during the current administration. There's no surprise that we went again from an average of what, around 800 encounters a day to damn near 8,000 a day. And that's just the ones that they catch. It makes no sense. That's what Brian says here about the 2A. Any gun laws are an infringement on the Second Amendment. Correct. Because they're not supposed to be able to tell you what to do. That's the whole point. They're not supposed to be able to tell you what to do. The Second Amendment is there so that you can keep the First. And they've been whittling away at that for years. They've been whittling away at that for years. Trying to take it from you. And when you lose it, you end up like Canada or Australia or New Zealand or any of these other places that are like that close to Orwell's 1984, except they're not quite as disheveled. Country suggests that according to AOC, there's nothing illegal about coming to this country illegally. A nature nerd says, imagine not arresting a criminal when you see them doing a crime and giving them a ticket for the future court case. Yeah. You know what we need, right? Judge Dredd. That's what we need. We need Judge Dredd. He'll clean the streets. He'll clean everything up. Going to jump back to the New York Post. This is insulting. This is why I pulled this up. As if most of the news isn't, right? New York Post article again. Biden is giving the leaders of the January 6th congressional panel, Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson, the U.S.'s second highest civilian medal. They're getting medals. They're going to get a medal for January 6th. Is that what you're telling me here? President Joe Biden is bestowing the second highest civilian medal on Liz Cheney and Benny Thompson, the lawmakers who led the congressional investigation into the January 6th U.S. Capitol riot by Trump supporters and who Trump has said should be jailed. Has he? Biden will award the Presidential Citizens Medal to 20 people in a ceremony Thursday at the White House. So I guess he'll be back from St. Croix by then, including Americans who fought for marriage equity. Oh, God. You know what that means. I don't even have to go down that road. A pioneer in treating wounded soldiers and two of the president's longtime friends, Ted Kaufman and Chris Dodd, who are both senators. Yeah, he's going to give two to his buddies. He's going to give two to his buddies. He's going to give a handful to people who are proponents of gay marriage, and one person who came up with emergency wound treatment for soldiers. So one person out of this 20 deserves it. Let's just put it that way. Quote, President Biden believes these Americans are bonded by their common decency and commitment to serving others. The country is better because of their dedication and sacrifice. And that's a White House official statement. Biden last year honored people who were involved in defending the Capitol from the rioters or who helped safeguard the will of American voters during the 2020 election when Trump tried and failed to overturn results. He did not try to overturn results. That's not true. And who was still alive that didn't try to erase themselves? You know that several of the people who were law enforcement at the Capitol at that time exterminated themselves before getting to trial, right? I read that article. I went back and found that several times and read it on here so people could could see that. You know that not all of the law enforcement who were witnesses that day lived to make it to court, coincidentally. So who was left to give a medal to? Joe says Americans are getting slaughtered in the street and can't afford food or housing, but Democrats would rather give out medals. Yep. Puck says, will Barry Soetoro get a medal too? I don't know. Cheney, who was a Republican representative from Wyoming, and Thompson, a Mississippi Democrat, led the House committee that probed the insurrection. Oh, they're calling it an insurrection again. I haven't heard them call it an insurrection since the actual footage was released. Cheney later said he would vote for Democratic Vice President Kamala Harris and even campaigned with her, raising Trump's ire. That's because he's a sellout and he thought he was on the right side of history and played the wrong card. Biden has been considering whether to offer preemptive pardons to Cheney and others that Trump has targeted. And I don't know how you can offer a preemptive pardon. How can you pardon something that hasn't been brought to court yet? I don't know how that's supposed to work. I've never heard of such a thing. I've never heard of it. And I think that's interesting. This has come up several times. People that Trump may target. You mean like the way that you targeted Trump and his people when he left office? Why don't you just say you're worried about retaliation for what you already did? This is the reason why no one ever went after a president after they left office before. Just in case it came back on you. Now Trump got elected again. Now you're all screwed. If you'd have left him alone, he probably wouldn't have said nothing. He wouldn't have a reason to go after you because you would have left him alone. You're going to turn this place into a banana republic. Trump, who won in 2024 and will take office January 20th, refuses to back away from his lies about the 2020 presidential race and has said he would pardon the rioters once he takes office. He didn't lie about the 2020 race. He felt like something shady was going on. He has a right to his opinion. He has a right to his opinion on that. A lot of people think something funny happened. He didn't try to manipulate anybody into doing anything. Country says Capitol law enforcement let the rioters in. At least that's what I heard. And you can see it in the video. You can see them walking people around. Country also says if he pardons people preemptively, it proves their guilt. That's a good point. Yeah, let me get ahead of this because I know that you're guilty. Like he did with Hunter. Pardoned him for his gun and tax charges. And then gave him a preemptive pardon for anything else that comes up that he might be charged with that may have occurred within the last 10 years. So what else has he done, Joe, that you're worried it'll get into court while you hand out medals to your buddies? It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. Well, you know, these medals aren't worth anything anymore. The Presidential Citizens Medal, created by President Nixon in '69, is the country's second highest civilian honor after the Presidential Medal of Freedom. It is awarded to those who performed exemplary deeds of service for their country or their fellow citizens. Does a protester, people who protested for gay marriage, the people who presided over the kangaroo court to investigate Trump, incredible. Incredible. Puck says the Constitution is pretty clear. It applies to convictions of those who actually served a prison sentence. Yeah, I don't think you can get ahead of it like that. I don't think it works that way. That doesn't make any sense. But as was pointed out, that that kind of almost implies guilt. It's like, I know you're guilty, so I'll give you like a get out of jail free card. And Country says those medals are starting to look like like participation awards. Yeah, all of it. The Nobel Peace Prize, the Oscars, the Grammys, name it. They all look phony now. It looks like a bunch of bullshit. This is the elites patting each other on the back. Nobody earns that stuff anymore. Nobody really earns that stuff anymore. It's sad, really. It's sad. But with that, we are at the top of the hour, so I will go ahead and start signing off. Again, you are listening to and or watching Coffee Talk, and you can find the live portion Monday through Friday at 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, most of the time, on Coffee Talk and Prepper University, on YouTube, that is. You can find me on Rumble, and that is Coffee Talk 2. That is the number 2. Coffee Talk 2. If you're watching there, I can't see your comments. Restream can't figure it out. I can only see the comments currently coming in from YouTube. I can't even see the numbers from Rumble. I can only see the ones from YouTube. You can find me on X at Coffee Talk Chat. You can find me on fistfulofradio.com, podcasting out of Atlanta. So with that, I will go ahead and sign off. Thank you, everybody who was able to join us here today. As always, hope you got something out of the conversation. And we will catch you again on Monday.